Welcome to Adventures in Sound. We began our journey on the hilltop neighbourhood of Montmartre to explore one of Paris's most whimsical yet broadly influential figures. Here I am just off 6 Rue Courtauld, right in the heart of Montmartre. Over a century ago, this was home to one of music's most eccentric and quietly revolutionary figures, Erik Satie. Satie lived here from 1890 to 1898 during a period which many call his Bohemian Montmartre years. At this time, the neighbourhood was a hub of creativity. Loads of artists, poets, and cabaret performers flocked here for the cheap rent and to immerse themselves in the cultural scene. Satie fit right in. In fact, he worked just up the hill at the Chat Noir Cabaret, where he played piano and mingled with symbolist poets. But Satie was never quite like anyone else. He walked around in identical grey velvet suits, 7 of them, and carried a hammer in case he needed self-defense. He referred to himself as a gymnopédiste, which is a term he essentially invented. This period at Rue Courtauld is where Satie wrote some of his most famous pieces, including the Nocienne and the Gymnopédie. These works were radically simple in a time where classical music was drowning in heavy ornamentation. Satie stripped everything down to its essence, slow, spacious melodies suspended over simple harmonies. It's this quality, music that creates an atmosphere rather than demanding attention, that makes Satie one of the earliest pioneers of what we now call ambient music. Long before Brian Eno coined the term, Satie was imagining music that was more part of an environment than a spectacle. He coined a concept called furniture music, which is music that's meant to blend into the background and be a part of life rather than a performance. Brian Eno, credited with defining the modern ambient genre, explicitly cited Satie as a precursor. You can hear Satie's influence in the slow tempos, repeating patterns and structures of minimalist composers like Steve Reich and Philip Glass, as well as modern ambient composers like Aphex Twin and neoclassical composers such as Olafur Arnalds and Nils Frahm. With Satie being the forefather of ambient music, it's only fitting that we explore the contemporary influence he had. Okay.
In Paris. All the pastry shops in the world, and he's in a fucking...
We're heading to Motto Books for a Patch Point pop-up. Patch Point is a part synth retailer, part hands-on playground, and part learning hub for electronic musicians. It is deeply rooted in experimentation and education, inviting visitors to actively engage with the gear they showcase. I can't help but notice the striking and unique instruments on Darren's table. A few of them being Siet Lombards, which are a family of wooden encased, experimental electronic instruments created by instrument designer Peter Blasser. Rather than following traditional keyboard layouts, they invite intuitive, tactile interaction. I asked Darren if he could walk us through what they are capable of.
Grab all the knobs. So now I have you can hear it's much quicker, so it's a multi-tap delay. That's kind of the way that you can... This one is going through a filter. Which you can modulate, and you can do a lot of things. So I think the most interesting new development in the world of Siet Lombard is he started gold leafing the wood, and what that does is that acts as like an antenna. You can see when
Oh yeah.
you have this, he added these like, basically added these gestural controllers to the instrument, which is super nice. And you can do those, like a very simple thing I really like to do is just put it into the reverse. So that way you play, let's do it faster so it's, we're on multi-tap. So we're on delay. Huh? So you hear it going backwards?
Wow.
So it's like a fun way to control the parameters. It's also very smooth. Funny thing I didn't like about it right away was I didn't not like it, but it's funny. Like when you push the button, you're always infecting the controllers, so you kind of got to work those into your
So it loops when you press the button?
Yeah, so when these orange lights are on, that means that it's saving it, freezing it forever.
Right.
And then you can crank the volume or lower the volume like a mixer. And then that's a good point to go through and show. So basically you have like VCAs on the effects and you have VCAs on the input. So if I grabbed a cable, I could take a VCA. The center section is kind of it's 5 oscillators and they can be linked together. So here, I'll just use it as a basic kind of tremolo effect.
Yeah.
And they're inverted, and it's hard to hear when you're just changing between each other. But if you took, for example, like sound on the other side, or let's freeze anything. And well, it's probably better with doesn't really matter. And you put it here, then you have like, it's doing like a rotary effect. So that's so cool, because all the instruments are stereo. So that's like kind of a nice, and then they're like, you know, depending on where you have the feedback set, they'll.
So if someone had this instrument, how would one like get used to these parameters? Because I've noticed there's no like labeling at all. Is it just a kind of trial and error thing, and you find stuff that's cool?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the concept. I mean, there's a lot of community where they're defining the instruments, and he literally tries to explain them the best he can. You know, it's not like an esoteric thing. He's just really trying to explain the instruments the best he can.
Yeah.
And it's really just outside of the box of normal instruments, you know, and so there are manuals, you know, and he tells you like what each thing does. So it's, you know, but there's no labeling on the instrument.
I think I appreciate that, because then you find stuff that you never would otherwise had it been labeled, you know? Because if you're looking for a particular thing, it's like the labeling helps a lot, but then you'll find stuff that you never would have, you know, usually.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's about discovery, I guess, these instruments.
Absolutely, and the fun thing with bananas is if you, for example, if you're not thinking about it and you're like, oh, I want to send this also to here, but this is connected to here, then you're also like,
manipulate.
You know, so sometimes you accidentally do stuff even if you're trying to do stuff, and it can become really nice, because when the things are interacting with each other, they kind of make music with each other. You know, like if some envelope from some sound is affecting another sound, it just kind of gives it a nice thing.
Keen to find out more, I want to sit down with Darren to understand Patch Point as an entity and his connection to Paris itself.
Why Paris is my question, I guess. Why would you pick here?
I fly over a lot, and I always see it from the airplane. I've never been here, and I was here for that show in June. I'd never been here before, and it just seems they have a particular like way of looking at and finishing things. Like I never thought it was a city for architecture or buildings, but the buildings are built really well here. And people have taste in a way, I think. So it seems, and the bookstore, it seemed like something I wanted, you know, someplace I wanted to experience for a bit.
So you're getting quite a lot of footfall in here, and people are interested in.
Yeah, I
in
would
Patch
say
Point.
not like tons, but the people who come are super excited to finally be able to, you know, try the instruments. And the funny thing about Paris is like a lot of people contacted us and they work. You know, in Berlin, it's like in Berlin, people are like coming at whatever hour, Lisbon too, because there's a lot of tourists. But here, people are like, oh yeah, can I come in my lunch break? You know, and, or I'm coming after work. So so only people that have passed through during the day or not on the weekend are people that were passing through.
Right.
So
Like us.
yeah.
What struck me was how intentionally open Darren seemed to keep the space. Rather than presenting the instruments as precious objects, Patch Point encouraged me and attendees to touch, test, and play with these remarkable instruments.
I was going to ask about this thing.
So it's
Yeah, very cute.
I love the bend.
Yeah, the boring.
Yeah.
Thanks to Patch Point and Motto Books for their hospitality.